Also, welcome to the Auditor General, members that are expected to be part of this session. Also, to the Deputy Minister and the department. As usually, I hope they will be also partaking in this session. Without delaying our time, I think we all know that this session is in two parts. The first part will be having a briefing by the AG on the audit outcomes for the Department of Public Enterprise, a session that will take us from now 9 o'clock to 10 a.m. And then from there, we'll be also casting another briefing from the Department of Public Enterprise on its audit outcome 2019-2010 annual report. And then from there, we will have to adjourn after engagement. And then, of course, tonight, there is also another joint session between ourselves as members of this Public Enterprise Portfolio Committee with the Scopa this evening on the SAA Business Rescue, which is going to start from 18 hours to 21 hours tonight. Therefore, let's without wasting time, get to the secretary. The apologies, if we've got any apologies, secretary.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, members. We have got one apology from Honorable Komani, who is attending another meeting, so she's unable to attend this meeting.
Okay. Thank you so much. Let us start. But you also said that the minister is not going to join us now. He's going to join us after 10.
The minister will join us between 9:45 and 10 o'clock, Chair, because the minister is attending cabinet, so he will leave cabinet to join our meeting by 10 o'clock.
Thank you, my dear. Honorable members, let us allow the AG of South Africa on the audit outcome for the Department of Public Enterprise. Are you ready, ladies and gentlemen?
Good morning. Good morning, Honorable Chair and honorable members of the committee. I'm Pumlani Rabonda, and my role on the audit of public enterprises was to provide oversight on the audit. With me here, I've got Uviwe Hutwana, who was the engagement manager responsible for the audit of the Department of Public Enterprises. I also have Angeline Hos. I also have with me Sebran Strover and also Christine van Zyl. These are the members from the AG who are attending to today's briefing session. I will be taking you through the presentation, which is about 25 slides. And Christine is sharing the slides, and also Uvio will help me in terms of responding to the questions that will come from the honorable members of the committee. With that said, Chair, I want to check if I should go ahead or if there's anything.
I think you have to go ahead, Mr. Romawanda.
Thank you, Chair.
Yes.
So I'm going to start with just a reminder on the reputation promise of the Auditor General of South Africa, in that ours is a constitutional mandate of strengthening our country's democracy, and we do that by auditing. And through our audits and the messages that we share from our audits, we strive to strengthen enable oversight, which is what we're doing today. Enable accountability and government in public sector. And just going into the next slide, for purposes of the parliamentary committee, we are here to reflect together with the committee on the audit work that we have performed at the Department of Public Enterprises, and to also hoping that this will assist the committee when they're assessing the performance of the department and whatever message or oversight role that the committee need to get out of this as part of their oversight responsibilities. So just going on to slide number 5. So the annual audit that we are sharing with today has got 3 elements. Where we audited that the financial statements fairly present in all material respects the financial position and the financial state of affairs of the entity. The second part that we audit is whether the annual report or the performance report contain performance information that is credible and reliable. Christian, please move to the next slide. Yes, thank you. And then the last thing, the item that we audit as part of our annual report, of our annual audit, is the audit of compliance with laws and regulations that are governing the financial matters of the department. So these are the 3 areas that when all of them are passed, which means we do not have material findings in all these 3 areas, we will come to an audit area. Just go on the next slide, Christina. An audit outcome that we call it unqualified opinion with no findings. So this means that the auditee would have produced credible financial statements that are free of material misstatements. The reported information on the performance report is useful and reliable, and also there were no material non-compliance that we would have identified. That is what we would call an unqualified opinion with no findings. We then have another outcome that is called financially unqualified with findings. This means that the auditee would have the financial statement that do not have, which are not qualified, so they do not have material misstatements, but would have either failed on the performance information and or the compliance with laws and regulations. And then you would have the qualified opinion, which means the financial statements contain material misstatements, and we can identify which account balance or class of transactions or disclosure item is affected by that particular misstatements. Adverse opinion is where we come and say the financial statements that have been presented do not fairly present the financial state of affairs of the organization. So basically, we are actually in total disagreement with the assertions that management would have given in that regard. And also we have the last one, which is the least desirable, which is the disclaimed opinion, which we effectively saying we are failing to make sense of the state of affairs as presented in the financial statements. For today, we will be focusing on unqualified opinion with no findings, and also with financially unqualified opinion. So these are the 2 areas that we will discuss today as they affect the outcomes of the Department of Public Enterprises. Just moving on to the next slide. So here we just have the legends that will be coming across frequently throughout the presentation. So the green square means they represent the opinion or outcome that is unqualified with no findings. The amber means unqualified with findings, and purple will mean qualified with findings. The others on the top row will not use them in this presentation, so I will go through them. And then we will also use these 3 arrows. The green pointing up means on that particular item that we'll be discussing, there has been an improvement as compared to prior year. The amber that is showing sideways means the comparing to last year, there's not been a change on the item we'll be discussing. And then the red pointing down means there has been a regression as compared to last year. So coming to just to talk about the tone and culture of accountability, which is before we can talk about the outcome and all what we have found, it's very much important just to indicate that as the AJSA, we have adopted this thing that we call the accountability framework and the accountability wheel, which effectively talks about if one is to be able to achieve that which is the mandate and that which they exist exist for, they need to start by planning. And that planning involves defining the targets. And in the context of a department, it will also include the planning and the budgeting and defining the targets in the annual performance plan and all the related documents. And then come to doing now. Now that we have planned, we need to then put measures and controls in place, which include supervision to ensure that we are performing in accordance with that which will enable us to achieve that which we have planned. And that involves ensuring that the use of resources is done in an effective, efficient, and transparent manner. And also, there will need to be a checking on a regular basis, which involves a monitoring by all assurance providers here. So you'll see in the later slides, we'll talk about the assurance provided by various assurance providers, which we'll call a combined assurance model. And that needs to come throughout the year to say that which we have planned to achieve versus how we're doing things. Are we on track, and where are the loopholes or where are the gaps? And through that, we'll be able to identify when things go wrong. And when we identify that things are going wrong, we'll then need to start acting on that, where we need to implement accountabilities now or consequences for that which has gone wrong. And once those things are done, we'll then be able to have the desirable outcome as represented by the pie on number 6. And once that is, and that effectively will then mean that the mandate of that institution or the department will then be felt by the citizen to say what the department exists to achieve is being felt, because all those things that are in this accountability metrics or accountability wheel are being done. So just going now into the outcome of the department. So you will see that the department was green in as far as audit outcome are concerned for the past 4 years. And that is quite a commendable feat for the advent to achieve that. And this year, unfortunately, we are presenting to the committee that the department was unable to maintain that stretch of positive audit results, in that in the current year, we have a regressed audit opinion, and that is resulting from material misstatements that were identified in the financial statements submitted for audit, which the department has managed to correct. However, as part of our audit methodology, we need to reflect that the department did not provide us with financial statements that are free of material misstatements, as they only avoided their qualification by adjusting the findings that we had identified. Moving on to the next slide. So this is just showing the detail behind what I just said now. So you'll see that the department has been submitting the financial statements on time, and we need to commend the department for doing that, that even in the midst of the pandemic, they were able to put together the financial statements and they submit them to us on time. However, the financial statements were in contained material misstatements, as indicated by that red arrow showing down. But because they were able to rectify the material statement that we identified, the final financial statements that we signed off on did not contain material misstatements as done by the audit. So just to indicate the areas of the material misstatement that we are talking about, it related to related parties disclosures, disclosures of impairment of investments, and also disclosure of contingent liabilities. These are the 3 key areas that had material misstatement that resulted in the department regressing from the a green audit outcome to the amber as we have it right now. So on the credibility, of performance reporting. Similar to last year, the department gave us a performance report that contained errors. And those errors were corrected through as part of the audit. So just to indicate that in the current year, the errors related to reliability of targets reported or performance reported. And for prior year, the errors related to usefulness of performance indicators. But all those in both years, the department managed to correct the errors as part of the audit and to avoid us reporting material misstatements because they were able to effectively correct the errors. And just indicating the status on the next slide, the status of internal controls that are linked with this audit outcome that we have just shared is that the controls relating to preparation of regular, accurate, and complete financial and performance reports that are supported by evidence were not in place or were not adequate, basically, not in place, but were not adequate. Hence, we identified these material misstatements. This mostly relates to year-end reporting controls. So the controls around the preparation for financial statements and the preparation of the performance report. There was a lapse in controls in that regard, and these misstatements were contained in the reports. So on the assurance providers, which is the combined assurance model, this is just to indicate the role players that we are of the view that the levels at which they are providing the assurance as linked to the audit outcome. So senior management and also internal audit, we are of the view that they need to be a bit of improvement, specifically around how they implement controls relating to year-end reporting and preparation of financial statements and the performance report. These are the two that we have highlighted as providing some level of assurance. You will see that for senior management, it stayed the same as it was last year. For internal audit, there was a regression, and this regression was caused specifically by the material misstatement that were identified on the financial statements. In the prior year, you will remember that we only identified the misstatements on the performance report, but this year, because internal audit did review the financial statements, but they didn't pick up the error that we picked up of the view that we needed to reflect them as providing some level of assurance. Just going on to the next slide on financial health. So just looking at the next slide, yeah. Looking at the department's ability to continue as a going concern, meaning that they are able to meet all their obligations as they become due, that is a positive. The department is a going concern. We have only highlighted one area that is need to be noted, which is if we were to report or convert the financial department into an accrual basis, they would be in a deficit. And this deficit is caused by the impairment of investments in SOEs that they had to disclose in the current financial year. That will then trip their income statement into a deficit. Another thing is that they would also be in a net current liability position if we were to do an accrual base of accounting. But because we are on a modified cash basis, they are not in an accrual position. So they're not in a deficit, or they're not in a net current liability position. Just needed to highlight that one. So overall, in all the other areas or other items that we assess, when we're looking at financial health and financial viability, there was no areas of concern for us to highlight except this one. Just to moving on right along to fruitless and wasteful expenditure. So in the current year, the department incurred 27,000 rand of fruitless and wasteful expenditure. You'll remember, Honorable Chair, that when we are reporting around or disclosing around items of irregular and wasteful, we disclose the exact amount regardless of how small or how big they are. So hence, they are still reporting 27,000 rand, and we need to highlight on that one. And as compared to last year, they incurred 181,000 rand. And majority of this expenditure relates to no-shows for costs attended to, and also cancellation fees. Just to also highlight that you will see when you look at the financial statements, the closing balance appears higher. That is because there was an opening balance that came from the 17-18 financial year of 712,000 rand. That when we add these two, the balance becomes higher. So, but we are only reporting the exact figures as incurred for the current year and the previous year. What we also need to highlight is also on the bottom right corner of the slide that the department does implement accountability processes, which include investigating the fruitless expenditure as when it is incurred. So hence it is green in both blocks there. And the next slide, talking to irregular expenditure, as you'll see, we did not identify any irregular expenditure in the current and the prior year, 18, 19, and 1920. However, if you go to the financial statements of the department, you'll see that there was a irregular expenditure of 809,000 rand that was coming as an opening balance from the 17-18 financial year, and that was condoned in the current year. So as the closing balance was zero as a result of that. And again, looking at the bottom right corner, you'll see the two blocks are green, which means that the department has measures in place to implement accountability processes where irregular expenditure is reported, they do go ahead and investigate and deal with it. That's why they were able to get the condemnation across. Thank you. Coming to the next slide on supply chain, this one also just to highlight that we did not identify material non-compliance instances on supply chain, which is commendable for the department. That supply chain being a big area which enables the department to procure the resources that they need to achieve their mandate or their targets. They did so in compliance with the legislation, or we did not identify any material instance of non-compliance. And on slide 20, that's the next slide. We are just trying to highlight the early interventions that we put in place to assist management with highlighting areas that, as the auditors will say, these matters need to be dealt with before year end to avoid a negative audit outcome. So this is referred to as the status of records review, where this year we went in and looked at the records for the 9-month period, starting 1 April to 31 December 2019. And looking at that, the information that we're looking at in the controls in place, we did highlight a few things that the department managed to address. And we also noted that the action plans that the board had in place to deal with prior year audit outcome as well were also implemented, which was also commendable. However, the matters relating to what led to the regression audit outcome, which is the year-end controls around preparation of financial statements and the annual report or annual performance report, those matters were not part of the status of records review that we did for the 9-month period. Hence, we could not have an early warning or early signal for management. So this is only related to the year end. That which we highlighted through the early warning processes, management managed to address. As the rest, let's just talking about the root cause. I've already reiterated this a number of times that the controls implemented by management relating to year-end reporting were not inadequate to prevent the misstatements. And now just coming to the next slide around the recommendations, we did recommend to management that the review of annual financial statements should include a review of class of transactions, account balance, and disclosures made in the financial statements, and also ensuring that that is in accordance with the modified cash standards and comply with the PFMA. So those reviews, specifically the management and all the internal audit, must make sure that controls are strengthened in that regard to avoid the same thing reoccurring as happened this year. So the portfolio committee, this will be determined by the deliberation by the committee and what the committee want to recommend to the department to do. But we are just of the view that whatever recommendation a committee gives to the auditee, there need to be a way to monitor whether the department is implementing those recommendations or resolutions of the committee. In overall, just to close off the presentations, honorable members, the department is commended for submitting financial statements at legislative date, as I've already indicated, taking into account the pandemic that we have been facing as a country. And the department is advised to focus on year-end processes, as I've already alluded to. Having said that, thank you very much for your time to the Honorable Chair and also honorable members. Our presentation end here.
Thank you, Mr. Swanda. I don't know if I pronounce your name properly. I don't know what's happening now. Hello? Rabonda, thank you so much, Mr. Rabonda. Honorable members, I don't know whether I have a problem here, but I hope I am audible.
Yes, you're audible, Chairperson. We can hear you.
Okay.
You are audible.
Okay. Let us see here if there is any clarity seeking questions from members. Can I just take your names so that I check if everybody wants to contribute? Can we start with you, Honorable Kwanazi? You're still thinking? Okay, let's go to Honorable Kachalia.
No, I'm happy, thank you.
Okay, thank you. And we go to Honorable Kumede.
Chair, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, sir.
I have two questions.
Okay.
What slide is it? But it starts, that slide starts with the important to note. Yes, there we are. The last block there, the outstanding audits. Perhaps it's the outstanding that's a bit confusing. If I say the chair has done an outstanding performance, I mean he has excelled. But I would suspect that in this one, it means there are figures or calculations that have not been submitted. I'm not sure. I just want to check on that one because the outstanding is the word that little bit it's confusing. I'm not sure whether it's an accounting word that's always used in a situation of this nature. And the second question, Chair, is I was a bit worried about the irregularities as well as the fruitless expenditures, reflecting some previous years, the shortfall and all that. Why would then we reflect the previous irregular and the fruitless expenditures if it does not impact on the current year? Because, yes, that's the one. Because we are saying that there are previous years. The other one indicates the 2014, and the other one it depicts the previous year, 18-19. But we are saying, however, I don't know where they were noting those. And now we have shown the greens, which indicate that we did not take account on those perhaps irregularities or the fruitless. Why would we depict them? That's the question I want to know. Thank you, Chair. I think I'm okay now.
Honorable Kumede, can we get Honorable Mawatwe?
Thank you very much, Chair, and good morning to you and the colleagues from the Auditor General as well. Chair, mine is on the going concern. If you can go to that slide, I think it's slide number. It's written slide number 15. The DP is a going concern, and the concerns are highlighted below. Can we then get from the department how they're going to then address this one? That's number one. Number two, if you go to the recommendations, they are recommending that to us as the portfolio committee, that we should request accounting officer and the minister to provide feedback on the implementation and progress of action plans to ensure improvement. So I just want us to note that, Chair, and make sure that then we execute that recommendation. And lastly, maybe to the department, do we have internal auditors that are auditing the department internally, or we only have AG that comes once in a year? And that will be all from me, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Mawatwe. Honorable Marre? Honorable Marre? I saw Honorable Marre is here, but let's go to Honorable Buthelezi.
Morning, Chairperson and colleagues. I don't have anything to say for now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Buthelezi. Honorable Piri.
Let me start by welcome. Am I not audible, Chair?
Yeah,
Chair?
I hear you, but you have a very bad signal. Can you try again?
Thanks, Chair. I'm in the village, yes. Thanks. Let me start by greeting everybody in the platform, colleagues and the AG and colleagues from the department. Let me start by welcoming the presentation. The presentation was very clear. The presenter was well articulating, and really, I'm not surprised when my colleague says they don't have more questions. But just to say and emphasize the issue of recommendations to the department, it's only the regress of financial annual statement. But Chair, we need to also welcome the part of from the department when they are given or when they are told this is what is a shortfall, they are able to submit to the AG. But I don't have much but to say we can see you are doing well, and we're just saying pull up your socks. Even us as the PC will take the recommendation as it is and work together with the department. Thanks, Chairperson.
Thank you so much, Honorable Piri. The last person will be Honorable Shabalala.
Thank you so much, Chairperson. Let me greet everybody in the meeting, MPs and the AGSA, including the department led by the Deputy Minister. I also don't have much. I think we're encouraged, Chairperson, with the audit outcomes. I just have a comment to the AGSA. Are they comfortable that the department has enough financial controls, checks and balances to detect other areas that you would have highlighted as areas of a bit of emphasis? And also perhaps for me, the DPE doesn't have irregular expenditure, and that shows that's a good thing. And what is the reason that there are outstanding audits and the process should have been completed by now? If I can just get that answer. Thank you so much.
Okay. Let's go back to Mr. Rabonda and the Uvio.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Thank you, Honorable Members. So on the first question relating to outstanding audits as depicted on that slide, this is just a legend that we use to depict if there's any audit that is not completed. So as we speak right now, the reason we are only sharing with you the message on the department alone without the SOEs is because we have quite a number of SOE audits that are under the department of the DPE that are still outstanding, which means they are not yet completed. So that's what we mean by that blue box. And then when we go to irregular expenditure and fruitless expenditure, why are we depicting the prior years? So just to indicate, so the prior year is depicted in the narrative down there. What we are depicting on the two blocks, 27,000 and 128,000, those that relates to 1819, 1920, and for comparability, we always put the 2 years. However, the narrative, we wanted to avoid a confusion between what is sitting in the financial statement of the department and what we're saying in here, so that because if you go to the department of financial statements and also the presentation that the department will intend to share has got the closing balance and the opening balance. We just wanted to make sure that we close that loop to say the money that you may be seeing in the opening balance comes from prior years, 17, 18 financial year. So it was only about that. It was not us trying to raise an alarm around it. No, it was only for reconciliation purposes to make sure that whoever is using the presentation and trying to reconcile between the financial statements and this one, and also the department's presentation, they make sense and there's no contradiction. There was a comment from Honorable Gumede around going concern, and I take note that she was asking to the department. But from our side, I think we just want to indicate that when we are looking at the department's ability to meet their dues or their liabilities, we don't have a challenge in that regard. However, we always do this comparison to say, had we prepared these financial statements on an accrual basis, what would be the picture? And before I can close this, I just want to invite my colleague Uviwe just to add, maybe just to add a bit of a clarity on what made us raise this one as a concern. You'll see, Honorable Chair, that this is not rated as intervention required, but it's rated as just an area of concern. But just to ensure clarity, I'll just ask Uviwe just to add there, and then I'll come back just to talk about the internal controls. Uviwe.
Thanks. Good morning, everyone. And in terms of this one on the going concern, as Phumlani has already explained, it's not a matter of we highlighting it as an issue, but when we look at the financial viability for the department, as you know that the departments will be on a cash basis of accounting, we just do this comparison to see what would have been the state of the department if it was on accrual basis of accounting. So the deficit for the accrual adjusted deficit was mainly due to the impairments that had to be done on the investments that were made to the SOEs. So if the SOC's investments were not impaired, the department would not have had the deficit. And then on the accrual adjusted net current liability position, we just look to say, because if you look at the department's financial statements, there are things that are sitting under disclosure items and not on the face of the financial statement. So basically on this area, we just go then to the disclosure items like your accruals and your key management. It's your accruals and the employee benefits that would then bring them in to say that if the department was on a accrual basis of accounting, they would have had to bring these things to their balance sheet. What would have been their position? So basically, that is what it's all about. But it doesn't mean that the department would not be able to pay its liabilities because it is on the cash basis of accounting. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Uviwe. I think on the last point, Honorable Chair, regarding the question of do we think the department has it in them to address the internal control that were highlighted? Our answer is yes. Hence, we rated this thing as containing need improvement, not as a need intervention. So the all is needed is for the senior management, including the CFO and the DG and the internal audit, to pay more attention to this year-end processes. And because those structures exist and the people are there, we are of the view that these people will be able to turn these things around and return the department back to the green, where we'll say there are no material issues on every area where we have audited. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Rabanda. Thank you so much, the viewer. But I think if there is any follow-up by now, any person can indicate. I would like to start from the beginning again. Mkwanazi, Kachalia.
Good morning.
Oh,
good morning, Chairperson.
Okay.
Good morning, Chairperson and honorable members and all the officials. I've written in the chat, Chair, I'm covered. Thank you so much. I'm being encouraged by the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Mkwanazi. Kachalia, you still have no follow-up?
No follow-up.
Sorry? Honorable Kachalia?
I said no follow-up.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. Honorable Kumede?
Chair, I'm not sure whether I heard it correctly from the AG, but as well as others, then I must say it was a well straightforward report. I think it's definitely appreciated. It made us all understand the finances. But there is something that he said, I'm not sure whether my interpretation would be correct, which said that if they were to put together the performance of SOEs with the department would have accrued or accumulated deficit, which would mean then they were going to get perhaps whether it's the qualified or whatever. Then my question is there a stage or in the coming years where they will include the performance of the SOEs together with the department, which may in fact give an adverse performance or report to the department?
Rabanda, end of view?
Can I do a follow-up, Chair? Chabalala?
Okay, Chabalala.
Okay, thank you. I didn't want to come again. I just want to know from Rabanda, what is the AGSA? Why is it that they've not completed the audits of the entities? And secondly, what is the benefit of accrual accounting in this instance, as this is transfers to entities which are audited in their own right? I hope I make sense to them, if they can just clarify. Thank you so much, Chairperson.
Okay. Mr. Rabanda and the viewer?
Yeah, thank you, honorable members. I take note that this slide is causing a bit of confusion. So this is purely an accounting matter, and I think I will just need to take the feedback back to the colleagues who help us with preparing the slides. It's an accounting matter that I understand to non-accountants, it can cause a bit of confusion. So the SOEs themselves, we audit them in their own capacity as a company or as an entity, and they have their own audit report, which does not translate into the audit opinion of the department. There will be no impact on that regard. But here, sorry, when my colleague Uwe was talking about the impact, the accrual impact on the department, she's talking about the department has got investments that they've made in SOEs, Alesco, SAA, Dinel, and the likes. And those investments are no longer worth what the money that they put in. Of course, if we're talking about SAA, it's in business rescue, what they're going to put in there, there's no guarantee that's what they'll get out of the entity. The likes of SA Express under professional liquidation. So that, according to the country standard, which is MCS, let the department to do what we call an impairment. An impairment is a reduction in the value of the asset. In this case, the reduction in the value of the investment that the department has in those SOEs. That affects the financial statement of the department because it is the money of the department that was invested there. However, when we're using the framework that the department is using currently, which is the modified cash standard, impairment is not reflected in the main financial statement, which is the income statement. It does not affect the income and the expenses or the surplus of the department. But if we were to do what we call accrual basis, which SOEs are on, that impairment would need to go through the income statement, which would mean that there will be a big multi-million rand expenditure, which will then lead to an what do you call it, a deficit. That's what we're trying to elaborate here. But what the point that I'm taking is that the inclusion of this slide is raising an alarm in areas that maybe we feel is not key. The message there was is mostly for the department. What they'll understand what we're talking about by cash versus accrual and what needs to be done to make sure that they stay alert to this particular risk. We will just need to make sure that next time when we package this message, it's clear and does not cause unnecessary confusion. Chair, you'll guide me in terms of whether if the members are covered in that regard. The second question around why are the SOE audits still outstanding? Honorable Chair, I will request with your permission that the reasons maybe we share with the committee when we table the outcome for the SOEs and the next engagement that we'll have with the committee. Then the reason for the delays will then be contained in that particular presentation. If we have your permission to do such, Chair, I will really appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. Honorable members, I think unless Honorable, there is any other pressing matter, I think we have exhausted the questions and we have accepted the recommendations by the AG, and we will do our oversight responsibility, taking into consideration those recommendations and those problems that I have highlighted. But the department remain, of course, having an audit outcomes that are unqualified, of course, with some findings. To deal with those problems, we will have to raise it with the department, including with the minister, to improve those outcomes. Otherwise, the department is still having unqualified audit as it has been continuing. It's such that there are those issues that need to be followed up. Honorable members, the next session now, which will take place in the next 10 minutes, will be the department. But for now, I will suggest that we release the Auditor General, and then if they have to go anyway, and then, but if they want to remain, it's still fine. And then we take a short break of 5 to 10 minutes, just to allow the department to be on board. Immediately they are all logged in, we'll have to continue the session. Thank you. I think we are ready to start. I've seen some of the members of the department. I've seen them logging in. The minister is also not yet in, therefore the deputy minister will have to take that responsibility to welcome and introduce the department, and if there is any opening remarks he has to make and assist us there. Honorable Deputy Minister.
Chairperson,
Thank you, Ben.
just quickly, so sorry, Deputy Minister, just quickly, we received an apology from the Minister. So the Minister won't be able to join us.
Okay. Yeah, but the Deputy Minister already, we got the apology that he has to be released earlier.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, and greetings to the honorable members of the committee. Am I audible, Chair?
You are loud and clear.
No, thank you very much, Chair. I think the apology of the minister has been conveyed. He's in cabinet. I then was tasked to leading the team. The Director General is here to then lead the presentation. Without saying much, Honorable Chair, the exercise that we have to do to come and give an account over what has transpired in the year that has passed is part of the responsibility we accept. The year in question towards the end has really been mired with a lot of challenges, as we have come to know. But surely we have tried our best. The economy hasn't been very good. We've also been affected very negatively in that context. Some of the entities really had to make do within a very constrained environment. But we are happy, Chair, to give you a detailed account of the activities we've been able to achieve, the performance levels we've managed to record, and the Director General will be able to lead that account. Thank you very much, Chair. With your permission, if I could invite the Director General.
Thank you, DG. DG, we are all yours now.
Yeah, good morning, Chair. My apologies. We're just struggling here with the technology. Let's just share the presentation. The Chair, are we audible on your side?
Yes, DG, you're loud and clear.
All right, thank you so much.
It's only your head that is not visible as a whole. If you can just put a bit up.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's better now.
All right. All right. Morning, Chair. Morning to honorable members and to colleagues who have joined us this morning. We'll be presenting on the annual performance of the department for the year. We'll start with the non-financial performance for the year. On predetermined objectives, the Chair, we have come in at 73% for the for every 22 of the 30 indicators having been achieved. It's a bit of a regression on the performance that we achieved in the previous year, but as we'll articulate later, there were areas that we could not get to for various reasons. It's also the last financial year was a year of also consolidating after quite a number of changes that we have had in the department. Chair, there were some highlights that we just want to speak to, despite the fact that the department had a lot in the news, or its SOEs especially were covered quite extensively in the news, and not always obviously well covered, but we were able to do some good things. With regard to Transnet, we had a board that came in 2018. They had to do quite a bit of cleanup at the business, as quite a number of the senior executives of the business had been implicated in wrongdoing. They've been able to not only that, but they've been able to bring a very capable executive team to come in and run the business. We have just had the AGM of Transnet, and we believe that they've set on a good course. As you're all aware, we have a GCEO that came in during that financial year into ESCOM as well, and the rest of the executive team is in place. There's been some reshuffling that has had to be done, mainly to strengthen the generation part of the business. But things are looking up for ESCOM, despite the challenges that they are going through currently. Safcol Chair has had an opportunity to really work in its executive team, despite the fact that they had a CFO that came in and had to leave because he got another job opportunity elsewhere. They really are doing some good work. We've seen some green shoots there, and we are expecting better performance going forward. So of course, it has been, this year will be tough for the business because of COVID, and it very much tracks the economic activity in the country. Alexco was placed under administration. We are rationalizing operations at Alexco, Chair. It's been a tough job over there, especially considering the remoteness of the business. We are working on a long-term solution for Alexco, but we really believe that a good base has been set for the business to do right by the people of Raftersveld in the future. A link to that as well is the CPA entities were placed under administration by the Department of Rural Development, Agriculture and Rural Development, and there is effort going there to stabilize and ensure that there is an AGM that will be held soon to ensure legitimate leadership is put in place. So there are some green shoots overall, the Chair, that we are seeing in this business. ESCOM, the roadmap we published last year in October 2019, it's very much informing the interventions in ESCOM, including the functional separation that was achieved in the last financial year. At ESCOM, the management boards for the operating divisions have been put in place. The PSEC Chair, we have it will be, the members have been announced of the PSEC. It will be sitting during the course of this week. So that is that's a big plus in terms of what has been achieved. And DP will be serving as a secretariat to the PSEC. Chair, the work on the repurposing of SOEs, which is led by DPE, is gaining traction. The the departments across the board, from post and telecommunications to small business development and others, are reviewing their portfolios. They are setting a new course for them. There is a volunteer initiative, delivery unit initiative, that the presidency will be working very closely with that, and we have been giving regular reports to the cluster, which is responsible for overseeing the work. Chair, the SAA Business Rescue process has gone unfortunately longer than we had anticipated, but we are, because of the difficulty of the task amongst others, but we are able to get the business rescue plan approved by the creditors, though it happened in this financial year. We were able to get overwhelming support of those creditors in that regard. We were able to intervene successfully with the organized labor at SAA through the Leadership Consultative Forum that was set up by the Minister. And through that effort, we have been able to develop a social plan, which we believe is a benchmark for restructuring, not only of SOEs, but of businesses across our economy. It is a document that was developed by stakeholders because they shared in a vision of a sustainable and competitive SAA going forward. And they understood that for that objective to be achieved, there will be some pain that each one of us will have to bear. And it's a commendable outcome, Chair. If you look into the department, into the various units, there are some that have distinguished themselves in terms of their APP targets. There are some where we still need to do a bit of work going forward. Some of those is corporate management, energy and resources, and business enhancement. And we'll go into the individual targets in the subsequent slides. So some of the areas that we have not achieved is the green paper on SOE bill, which will get momentum now with the PSEC being put in place. And we also had to allow that process to take its course, Chair. And one of the major challenges that we had as well was in the department was with the budget cuts that we are having to mobilize resources to perform this kind of work is also proving to be a lot more difficult. And as has been said, we should expect the cuts to be deeper going forward. But certainly, an overarching legislation on government shoulder management, which is the SOE Bill 62B, will be receiving a priority going forward. We have contracted on social impact assessment of our SOEs CSR programs, though it was only achieved in this year, and the work is unfolding now. We had initially planned to do it in the previous financial year, but the work eventually will be done. The localization program, we had to do some adjustments to the program during the year. Therefore, we are not able to achieve the reports that were supposed to be served in the last financial year. The team is quite involved with our SOEs in getting the necessary attraction with the policy departments, GTI and NT, to ensure that we leverage our procurement spend for local projects. The shareholder compacts, Chair, we had, because of how we have contracted for these, with some of the challenges that we had in our SOEs. For instance, we're not able to have those sign off. Until some of them, we have not been able to sign them off. And the way the target is set, you get 7 or you get nothing. And with SAA and SA Express being in the troubles that they are in, we're not able to achieve that. And also, Alexco, the optimal structure for the entity was not finalized in the financial year. We have a team now set up with our colleagues at DMRE that is looking at the future of that business, and I hope to get consensus soon. SA Express and SAA turnaround plans, we are seeking, prior to the challenges that face these two businesses, we're looking to consolidate those two entities, and that was not achieved. Of course, the next point also speaks to that on the optimal corporate structure. And that's our performance over the years, Chair. We were able to achieve 80% the previous year. We had 73%. There's no reason why going forward we should not get back above 80%. We have already spoken to the non-achieved, Chair. I will not spend time on them. But those are some of the targets that have been achieved. This is a corporate management target in terms of interventions in the department. The performance evaluation framework that has been developed, and it's an implementation. We were able to update the MOIs, Chair, across our SOEs. We were able to respond quite well to some of the information that gets shared through the hotline in terms of the wrongdoings that are happening in our SOEs. We have an active team in the department that reviews those, refers them to the SOEs, follows them up. They also monitor close the presidential hotline as well in terms of issues that have to do with DPE. So we are doing relatively well in that particular space. The integrity framework, Chair, is we have a draft in place. We have had consultations in this current financial year, and we hope to have the document finalized for implementation by the end of this financial year. We did well in terms of our statutory oversight functions, the financial reviews, the corporate plans, also the following up on audit findings with our SOEs, just to ensure that the commitments that I've made to the external auditors are being implemented. Same applies to the quarterly reports on skills development as well as CSR programs. The team is keeping up with that work. I've spoken to that non-achievement on the impact assessment earlier. On the Africa strategy, Chair, we had those that reviewed. We have a strategy that is much more practical and informed by going on in certain key markets on the continent that we are looking at for SOEs to grab opportunities in. We have a regular steering committee that sits to ensure that there's a coordinated effort in pursuing those opportunities. We have SOEs not only in our stable, but also in other departments that form part of that steering committee. Yeah, right. We have, with regard to going to the individual units, energy and resources, they were able to perform well. With regard to the statutory oversight functions, we've spoken to the two areas where they did not do as well as they should have. These are some of the areas where they achieved well. They were able to get an MOA going to ensure that we have a coordinated effort on the state forestry assets. The monitoring of the build program at ESCOM, that work is being performed quite well. The assessment reports where we continually track the performance of the ESCOM generation system, that has been done well. We look at the reserve margin on there to ensure that it's kept above the expected target. Chair, Dinel, the team also tracks the commitments that the entity has made with regard to restructuring the business that has been kept up. And the Transnet target on tonnage moved, we were able to also track that, and it was achieved in the period under review. The seaports, with regard, we also track the performance of the ports in terms of ensuring that they're turning around the ships on time, that freight is moved optimally from the port, rather from the ship into the port and out of the port. So that was achieved here. Another achievement I've spoken to earlier. The socioeconomic impact assessment on capital projects, our research and economic modeling team was able to do that work. We gave them regular projects throughout the year in terms of position papers and specific research that we expect them to do. There were 10 of those that had been given. They were able to achieve them. At this stage, Chair, I'll hand over to our CFO to speak to the audited financial performance statements.
Thank you, DG, and good morning, Chairperson and honorable members.
CFO,
thank you, DG, and good morning. The explanation in terms of financial performance, the slides will be on how the department has performed in terms of expenditure against the budget, irregular expenditure, fruitless and wasteful expenditure, as well as payments made to the service providers. And the last slides will be on, will provide information on the audit outcome. On this slide, the table provides a summary of expenditure against the budget per program for 2019-20 financial year. The spending for the period ending March 2020 is 99.9%, and this includes 56.6 billion disbursed to the SOCs as follows. 49 million was disbursed to ESCOM, 49 billion was disbursed to ESCOM, 5.5 billion to SAA, 1.8 billion to Dinel, and 300 million to SA Express. And these funds were for working capital and settlement of government guaranteed debt. The total spending, excluding payments for financial assets or transfers to the SOCs, as at the month ended March 2020, is 87.1%. This slide provides a summary of expenditure against the budget per economic classification for 2019-20 financial year. The spending on compensation of employees and goods and services is 87.6% and 84.9% respectively. And this is lower than the budgeted amount. The reason for this is because of the fact that we haven't filled some of our posts, but currently we are in the process of filling the critical ones. And the other reason relating to goods and services is because of non-implementation of the development of the green paper for the shareholder management bill. And the DG has already touched on that one. The spending on transfers and subsidies is 94.4% of the budget, which is for households and payments to public corporations. The last one is the spending on capital assets, which is 99.9. And this is mainly for computer equipment and departmental vehicles. If we look at this slide, there is no irregular expenditure reported in the year 2019-20. The 821,000 which was reported, it emanates from the previous years, and it has since been condoned by National Treasury. With regard to fruitless expenditure, the fruitless expenditure includes prior year amount of 712,000, which relates to 2015-16 financial year. The department instituted an investigation to determine the cause of the expenditure. The investigation has now been concluded, and the department is currently in the process of implementing the recommendations received from the investigators as part of actions to be taken. On this slide is about payments made to suppliers and service providers during 2019-20. We have made payments to suppliers and service providers within 30 days from receipt of invoices. In terms of the audit management report for the period 2019-20, it has been indicated that the department took an average of 4 days to pay our service providers. The slide about the audit outcome, we continue as a department to maintain a sound governance and compliance framework in how we utilize resources. This time around, the department obtained unqualified audit opinion with findings. The AG identified one material misstatement on reported performance information of Program 3, and it was subsequently corrected. With regard to financial statements, the AG identified three misstatements, and they were also corrected. The three misstatements are in relation to disclosure notes on related party transactions, prior period error, and impairment of investments. We have put measures in place as a department to prevent the recurrence of the same errors, and we will continuously improve our internal controls. Thank you.
DG, still your platform.
Yeah, but Chair, we are done on this side. If you can hand over back to yourself, Chief. Thank you.
Thank you, DG. Thank you, CFO. Honorable members, that is the briefing from the department. As usually, I will expect members to engage. We will start again from those that are present. I don't necessarily need hands. I will just identify each and every person to speak, making it a point that all the members have been given an opportunity to engage on the briefing. Can I again start with you, Honorable Pierre? Honorable Pierre. Similarly, Honorable Pierre having. Honorable Pierre.
think she has challenges with network, Chairperson.
Yeah, but I expected members from 10 o'clock, those who had some problems in the first part of our session to do their homework in relation to this problem of network there. Okay, let us go to Honorable Mkwanazi.
Thank you, Chair. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, you are.
Greetings, Chairperson again, and honorable members and officials from the department. Firstly, Chair, I want to acknowledge and appreciate the audit outcomes of the department by the Auditor General on the first presentation. But I want to check with the department their plans to strengthening the internal controls within the departments. That's the first one. The second one, Chair, on the non-achieved outcomes. I hope, Chair, the Presidential State-Owned Enterprise Council will immediately get the priority to be implemented. I'm just noting that. But the question, DG, is on slide 7. Can you please clarify to me the impact of non-implementation of the assessment of SOE's localization to the whole program? Thank you so much for now, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Mkwanazi. Honorable Kachalia.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, frankly, this continued whitewash has to end. I mean, the minister is not even here again. And against the backdrop where we are borrowing, as the finance minister said, 2.1 billion a day, and largely attributable to these zombie SOEs that we have. There are no green shoots that has been referred to. SAFCO has posted a loss of 47 billion, with 350 odd million in irregular expense. Eskom's eye-watering loss is 20 billion. Denel can't pay salaries or deliver on contracts. Alex Gore has sold the communities of the Northern Cape down the river with no revenue and a loss of 173 million. Transnet, our ports are still the most expensive in the world, and rail transport costs 3 times that of road. And to top all this, then we have this vanity project of SAA poised to suck up billions going forward. We are fed in view of this, we fed the same story for years. This year is no different. We told we are fixing. But the reality is otherwise. All the areas that have been identified as where we have ostensibly achieved well have amounted to a consolidated picture that is worse than before, as I've pointed out. So when are we going to represent this and reflect and re-reflect it in an honest way? Then we can talk about fixing. Thank you.
Honorable, thank you, Honorable Kachalia. Honorable Kumede.
Chair.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Chair, thank you very much. Firstly, perhaps it will be very much prudent to congratulate the department for the achievements on the unqualified audit statement. It's a job well done. We may have, as we do, we have concerns, but it's better that at least the status quo be maintained. The only worry we may have is for 4 previously consecutive years, it has been an audit without findings. It's only this 19, and 20 which has gone amber. Then it shows that there is something that is surrounding the department. Otherwise, the performance has been wonderful. Chair, I appreciate that the vacancies, especially the critical ones, are going to be filled. Then wanting to find out with the boards, have all the vacant positions with the board members been filled? Because we are not prepared to have the limping boards, and I'm appealing especially to the DG, with the help, in fact, of the deputy minister, that we wouldn't like that the SOEs die in our hands as this current committee. It will be, we will be leaving a very negative legacy that will always haunt us as members of this committee if it says, after your period, the SOEs, all of them crumbled and they died. Chair, the non-achieved targets, some of them have been outstanding for more than a year now. Well, I'll understand the reason why the SAA has not been achieved, because its performance has then been dependent on PR. But the other ones, I'm a bit worried. I've noted that we are saying that we will achieve all of them by 2021. I would prefer that at least timelessly, before we meet it at the final year end, that timelessly, with your permission, Chair, we get reported of the progress, that what's happening, are they getting closer, is it still the same, how can we help or assist, perhaps as a committee. I think that will be much more important. Chair, going back to Dinel, I think perhaps this is the second time, if not the third, I'm kind of asking this question, and it has never been responded to. That it appears that Dinel has kind of been downgraded. If that is the case, what do we do to save, in fact, the situation? Even if that's not the case, what do we do to save the situation? I understand at our the last committee, when we're doing the quarterly reports, there were ideas that we were going to negotiate with defense, in order to get Dinel kind of moving and be on its feet. But it will again be very much prudent that we are giving the status or the state of not only Dinel, DM are always categorize these SOEs. We have SAA as well as ESCOM, which are partly catered for. I'm not saying that they are giving perhaps assistance, but at least we talk about it. There are things that are happening, the activities, we get updated and all that. And we have the three, the Alesco, AFCOL, as well as Transnet. Those at least they do have a kind of a breathing space. But collapsing, in the brink of being collapsed, is SA Express as well as Dinel. I would be interested to know the state, especially of those two, so that at least, and it's what do we have in a form of sustaining those two mainly, so that at least we know that the SOEs, SAA, ESCOM is being dealt with, the ALESCOs, the SAFCOs and Transnet, at least they are breathing, and then we begin to resuscitate Express as well as Dinero. Perhaps, Chair, let me wait there. I have not asked the whip's question. I hope she'll remember that question and she'll ask it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Kumede. Let's also go now to Honorable Maotwe. Maotwe.
Chair, I've got a problem with my network. Can you skip me and come back to me?
Okay, but you sound loud and clear.
I'm trying to get the proper spot. I'll let you know. I'll let you once I'm ready.
But I can hear you. You are loud and clear.
Yes.
We hear you properly. Honorable Maotwe. Okay, Honorable Mare. Honorable Mare. Honorable Mare. What's wrong with my members? The whips of the members must help me, of the parties must help me, because I can see people, they are here and they've logged in.
I'm fine. Hello, Chair. My name is Bumlo.
Yeah.
Mara is absent.
I was
Sorry.
never absent. I was never
No. Honorable Bumluana, I've not spoken to you. I'm still busy with the Honorable Mare. I'm trying to get Honorable Mare.
Chairperson?
It's him.
Yes, I'm on. I'm fine. I couldn't get off the mute, but I'm fine. Thank you.
Okay, you're fine.
Yes. I couldn't get off the mute. Sorry.
Okay. Honorable Telezi. Inkosi Butelezi. Honorable Butelezi. Okay. We seem to not to have Honorable Butelezi anymore. Let me move to Honorable Mpumluana, because he's back now. Honorable Mpumluana.
Hello, Chairperson.
Yes, Honorable Mpumluana.
I say the problem I had is that nobody sent me the link.
Oh.
They just sent me now 2 minutes ago. So I don't know what happened. So I was not there in your meeting right through. I don't know. I can't contribute.
Okay.
Because it's the first time that I come in.
Okay. No, so right then, let's.
I want to. I apologize.
My sincere apology for that mistake. I will have to take that with the people in charge of that particular responsibility to inform members. I'm sorry for that. Let's go to Honorable Piri. Is Honorable Piri's problem improved? Honorable Piri? Oh, seemingly She has not back yet. The system throw. Oh, she's in. She's in. But I think she's trying to, because she has unmuted herself, but I think she's still struggling with the network. Let us go back to Honorable Maotwe. Honorable Maotwe? Honorable Maotwe said she's still struggling with the network, but she was speaking very audible and clear when I gave her the time to speak, but now she seemed to be out of the list. Let us go to you, Honorable Chabalala.
Thank you so much, Chairperson. And I'll propose, if we continue to have network as members of parliament, perhaps we must meet physically so that we don't have this challenge. Because it's very important that we conduct our work. On a lighter note, I thought that Honorable Marais was absent. Chairperson, I think I'm covered by Honorable Kwanazi when she started around matters that needs to be followed up from Presidential SOE Council and the issue of the management bill where we are. However, this is the financial report and account on the department's performance. And for me, really judging from the morning, we've had a good feedback around the department unqualified audit. Those matters that have been raised insofar as part of our oversight role around the ailing SOEs and what needs to happen. It's better to have something on the table that says, this is the plan for us to resuscitate. These are the matters that we need to consider. These are the finances where we are. It's not a secret that in the country we are undergoing serious financial constraints, and COVID-19 has not really made it easy for all sectors, all entities, if not all departments. So everywhere else, there are budget cuts, there are issues of what we see, job losses that we're experiencing. So other matters that are not different. Yes, there are SOEs that have been ailing, and we are aware of that. It is better, Chairperson, that we are working with a plan, unlike having a department that will come to us and throw their hands on the air and say there's nothing we can do about it. They are telling us and they are accounting, this is the plan. Our duty is to make sure that we follow the plan and make sure that we take them to account. Now, the statements on whether the minister is not here, minister is in cabinet. We can't, as a portfolio committee, all the time expect ministers to come to us when we have so many meetings. Even in the evening, we want the minister again at 6:30 to attend that meeting. And I think for me, it's really unfortunate that we have a department led by the DG consistently coming to us. Senior executives are here who are counting, who are dealing with these matters, but we want the minister so that we can do the political and politicking and deal with political overview. Really, we want the work, and that's where we are. So I don't see really a problem. So for me, Chairperson, these are just comments that I'm just making. And to the department, keep up the good work. We still want more. We still want to continue to make sure that we hold you accountable on these promises. Alex Co, we're dealing with it next week, and that's my understanding. And we've been doing that. So we'll await to understand what can be done in Alex Co, what has been done, what is the appetite. But the issues of Richardsveld community is part of our program. We said before we rise, we want to go into an oversight. It's something that we need, perhaps from our side, to really prioritize as a matter of agency so that we understand and we deal with that. The rest of other matters, Chairperson, from the morning, I think from the AGSA report, I'm really covered. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Shabalala. Honorable members, let's give to the department again to respond to some of the concerns and questions. Mr. DJ? Mr. D, Director General, it's your turn.
Can just move the camera for me, please. Thank you, Chair. Can we have the DM come in first? Is he still with us?
No, Khathatso, I think you can proceed.
Right.
I've noted, Chair, the comments that have been made. Look, for me, the point is, it's not the last time we're coming before the committee. I would rather Honorable Kochalia doesn't just throw his hands in the air. We're coming back to deal with the difficult issues in a very objective and constructive way. We do take note of his frustration, but it's true that on a Wednesday, there's cabinet that sits, and when this meeting was scheduled, we had to make sure that the department is adequately represented, and that's the case. So I think we should just proceed to dispose of the other matters. The DG is more than capable to do that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, DM, and thank you, Chair. Chair, on the issue of localization, what had not been achieved was the reporting.
Good morning, sir.
On our.
I'm fine, thank you. How are you doing, sir?
Yeah, well, all right. Yeah, on the issue of localization.
Sorry, did you? Can we ask the Deputy Minister to mute himself?
Yes, that's so, Chair.
Or these other people can mute him while the host?
Yeah, it's been done, Chair. Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
All right. Chair, on the issue of localization, we have been able to make quite a serious traction in terms of the amount of work that we are able to bring into the country. What we are reporting on was the reports that we compile on a quarterly basis in terms of how our entities are performing. And at some point, we may want to, if you have permission, of course, Chair, to come through and share some of the work that, especially our major SOEs, are doing on the localization front. This is in response to the question that Mem Konazi had asked in relation to the non-achievement on localization. We do measure the entities in their shareholder compacts on local localization, local content. What we also do is, of course, on the other transformation targets relating to placing more business with marginalized communities, we do that. Internal controls, Chair, we are doing relatively well, but we are also recovering the Chair from an area from an era rather that spoke to the large irregular expenditure that we saw that has now been condoned. We are doing a lot of cleanup internally in terms of historical contracts where we have identified wrongdoing. We are taking action, Chair, almost whenever such irregularities are picked up in the department. So we're quite happy with where we are, but we definitely can improve going forward. On the issue of PSEC, will be up and running, Chair. The overarching regulatory framework is one of the critical areas that will be receiving attention from PSEC going forward, Chair. Chair, what I just want to say to Honorable Kachalia, that he will have an opportunity when the entities themselves come and present here to really get even a greater and deeper appreciation of the state of our entities, and that despite the challenges that they have had, there's some good work that is happening in those particular entities. And I just want to reiterate again, Chair, that these entities are instruments of implementation of our developmental objectives. There are many people whose careers and businesses who ordinarily in our dark past would not have had those careers and those businesses, who have found opportunities to do things that they would not have done in the past. So that should be commended. And that's the role that SOEs play, Chair. And also they obviously they play quite a big role as a result of that in ensuring that, for instance, that child who's able to become a pilot today is able to uplift their family, or that one who's not who's been able now to become an engineer. That career comes with a lot of with the upliftment of the whole family, and the private sector can play a big role, Chair, in that respect as well, as part of the social compact or the social cohesion that we've entered into, and that's where I'll leave it on that one, Chair. The Honorable Gumede, we appreciate the wonderful remarks that you have made. The unqualified audit, the findings, we can assure you, Chair, we are attending to those. The COVID period, Chair, also dealt us a couple of blows on that one. I'm sure from the report that you received from the Auditor General, they did indicate that some of those findings, for instance, with regard to some of the notes that we had interpreted differently to them, that those are areas that can easily be breached going forward. And we certainly are taking lessons from this year's audit outcome. And we want to get back to a clean audit streak that we had for the last couple of years. We are in the midst of filling the vacancies indeed, Chair. And with regard to the boards, there is because our governance unit is also undertaking to strengthen the boards. So there should be some announcements that will be made in the next couple of weeks on those areas. The boards, as well as part of the AGM season that we are in, have been raising these issues with the minister, and I can assure members that the chairs are attending to these challenges. We certainly do not intend to have these entities down our hands. If anything, we need to be seeing how many more entities can be set up. We have new economies and new technologies that are coming into play. How do you ensure that we leverage our SOEs to ensure that in the renewable space, for instance, we do not become a technology colony? That the wind farms and the solar farms that have been set up in this country, we have South African technology in amongst those. And the SOEs with their capabilities are well positioned to ensure that is not the case, and that we have some indigenous technologies there. And that's what we intend to do. And some of these skills and the members have gotten to see firsthand when they did the tour, site visits at our entities. On the SOE bill, Chairs, the one that has been outstanding for quite a while. Indeed, it goes back at least 2 terms. The PRC Commission has raised this, something that we need to work on, and we acknowledge the comment from Dr. Gumede on that one. The denial situation is we working hard at it, Chair. We have made appeals to various forums within government, but we also challenge the management at denial to also say we have an order book that find innovative partnerships to ensure that order book is executed and that the people are kept busy. So that's what we are expecting them to do, Chair, that they help themselves while they're waiting to be helped. On SA Express, Chair, the liquidators have announced the preferred purchaser for the business. There are some legalities that they are involved with. So in due course, we should hear from them as to how that airline also gets back up in the end. The positive thing there, Chair, is that the staff also took their future into their own hands. They are part of the consortium that has is poised to purchase that particular business, and that's something that should be commended. That's worker empowerment at its best, and we really commend the leads in that consortium for having created space for employees to play a role there. And we wish them all the best if they are seeking to satisfy the remaining conditions of the liquidators for them to be able to take over the business. But we also appreciate the Honorable Chabalala's support for the work that we're doing here, and that indeed can assure you that there is a lot of effort in the background here that we are putting into with the lead of the minister and the deputy minister, engaging with the SOEs on a regular basis to understand where they are in terms of the promises that they would have made at our previous engagements, to ensure that everyone is held honest. And also it gives them an opportunity as well, where they have sought support from the department, that they are able to receive feedback as to what we have done to assist them. And Chair, that's the totality of the questions that have been asked. Thank you so much.
Thank you, DG. Honorable members, that is the response from the department. I'll just check if I cannot provide you with 1 minute follow-up if there is any, starting from Honorable Mkwanazi.
I'm fine, Chair. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honorable Mkwanazi. Honorable Kashalia.
I'm covered, thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Kashalia. Honorable Kumede.
I'm okay, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Kumede. Drive safe. Honorable Maotwe.
Thank you, Chair. Although I missed some parts of the presentations that were done, even the questions, due to the network issues. But just on the non-achievements from the DG, I'm not sure if he covered them. What is the plan to achieve those targets that you have not achieved? That's on page, well, it's written page 0, but it says APP 2019-20 annual performance non-achievements. So if you can just give us a brief explanation of what plans do you have in place to make sure that you achieve this, or are you leaving them completely or abandoning them, or what is the plan? Thank you, Chair. That will be all. Chair, did you hear me?
Oh, sorry, I hear you. I forgot to unmute myself. Sorry, Honorable Maotwe. I heard you very well. Honorable Mare. Honorable Butelezi. Honorable Piri. Honorable Shabalala.
Shabalala here, Honorable Chairperson. I'm okay. Thank you so much. Long live to you.
Thank you. Let's go back then to the DG and respond to the question by Honorable Maotwe.
So we certainly, with regard to some of these, intend to continue to ensure that achieved in this financial year and going forward. The green paper, we have spoken to it. We did indicate that the social impact assessment on the CSR programs, that work is continuing in this financial year. The localization was referring to the quarterly reports that they were achieved, but unfortunately delayed. The shoulder compacts, of course, we are cleaning up through the AGMs now, understanding social compacts, and also for the next financial year, we are ensuring that those will be signed off ahead of the financial year. On the optimal structure for Alexco, I did say that we are working closely with DMRE to ensure that we have a lasting solution for Alexco, and also, of course, ensuring that that there is consolidation within the sector as it relates to state-owned assets. SAA and SA Express, the chair, those targets have now become academic, with the business being in business rescue and liquidation. What we, of course, are putting our efforts into now is to ensure that we have a vibrant, solid, and sustainable SAA going forward, which is what we need, Chair. We are an end-of-the-world destination. Chair, we are reliant on connections with our trading partners as well as sources of tourism. If we allow foreign carriers to bring people into this country, those revenues stay outside the country. We want to see them coming into the country so that the benefits of this beautiful country of ours that others want to see accrue to South Africans. We also want to see more of our people getting an opportunity to have careers in the new SAA. We want to have a representative pilot corps, and speaking to the same point I made earlier. When you empower that child, you empower the whole family. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Director General. Honorable members, that's the input given, but I just want to appreciate the presence of everybody, including the fact that the departments once again came to make this presentation to us. Let us thank them, the DG, Deputy Minister, and the CFO for taking their time to take us through. However, we must be genuine, honorable members, and be kind to each other and provide each other a benefit of the doubt. Let's not just blow things out of proportion. It's not true nor correct that the minister is always absent here. The minister, together with his deputy, continue to avail themselves to attend and account on issues pertaining the department, including the state-owned enterprises. If they are not coming, we always get an apology in time. And that apology is not just an apology, they will explain why, what informs their absence. Also, the department is always here. Let's appreciate the fact that the Director General is an accounting officer of this department. His presence here is also very important. Let's not just because the minister is not here, the Director General is here, then there is a big gap of some important person who's supposed to be here. But I know for a fact that we never had so far under my presence here, we never had a situation where there is no deputy minister and there is no minister without any valid reasons. And if there are issues that we want to raise or we have to direct to them, they will always take those issues when they come or when they come to that particular meeting. There was no time where they failed to account on issues that we have as this portfolio committee. Therefore, I hope we give each other that benefit of the doubt. I know some of us here, we are opposition. We're not all members of the governing party, but I think we are a portfolio committee who is not supposed to be an opposition within. Here, we're supposed to be collaborating and try to work together to do to exercise our oversight duty with cooperation. Therefore, I hope members are not using, because I'm seeing there is a new trend coming of using the portfolio committee as some form of a wrestling ground. And I don't think it's going to help us to achieve our objective. Here we're supposed to collaborate. Of course, we do have our caucus position, but we raise within that context that actually here we do have a wrestling ground, which is our National Assembly, where opposition play their opposition role, where the ruling party play their ruling party role. But here, we both have a duty to assist these state-owned enterprises, to assist this department so that we can have outcomes that are based on our objective. Therefore, honorable members, before I would like also to state that this is going to be a weekday for us. I mean, a heavy day for us. From here, we'll be going to the National Assembly. From there, again, after the National Assembly, at 6 o'clock, 6 p.m., we'll be having another joint session between ourselves and the department, and the scoper. Therefore, we quite a hectic day today. I will have to release you and thank you for your presence, and so that we can be in a position to prepare for the next session. Thank you so much. The meeting is adjourned.
Long live the chair. Bye-bye, Mautwe.
Thank you, Chairperson.